Good morning, everybody. Are we all here this morning with Proudly South Africa? Weather is beautiful in South Africa, no matter where you are sitting, standing, or perched upon a tree. So, welcome this morning with us. We are so excited to have you online with us. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We're just waiting for one or two people to join in on the lives. Thank you, everybody, for coming through from everywhere in South Africa. It is awesome to be online with you this morning. It is a real pleasure to have you join us today on this marketing webinar. Can everyone hear me? Oh, there we go. I am back on. I am live. It's a pleasure to have you all joining us this morning. Welcome, everybody. This is a collaboration with Proudly South Africa, the country's official buy local advocacy campaign. So good morning from wherever you are, whether you're a small business owner, a marketer professional, simply just a passionate entrepreneur that is building a stronger and better brand, a more self-sustaining economy. This session is designed to equip you with practical insights, local success stories, and fresh strategies that you can apply immediately. In today's competitive landscape, building a brand that resonates deeply with your audience requires more than just a catchy logo or a tagline. It demands authenticity, cultural relevance, and a unique voice that reflects the spirit of its people. That's where the power of Mzansi, South Africa's rich and diverse cultural heritage, comes in. Branding for Mzansi, infusing local culture into your brand, is a dynamic and insightful webinar designed for entrepreneurs, marketers, creatives, and business owners who want to create authentic, proudly South African brands that stand out and connect with the heart of local consumers. So wherever you are, get ready to be inspired, take notes, and engage, because marketing with purpose starts right here. I would love to welcome our very own Proudly South African membership manager, Alicia Logan, to the floor. Alicia, we are all here because of this amazing brand that is out here trying to encourage and equip our local South Africans with brand knowledge and relevance in their industry. Now, I know that the first thing people think of when branding is probably a logo, colors, font, text. What does that look like? I believe you have some very insightful things to share with us based on this. So please welcome this morning, and thank you for hosting such an insightful webinar.
Good morning. Good morning to you, and good morning to all of our other speakers. As Addie confirmed, I am the membership manager at Proudly South African, and I would like to just take you through a short presentation on how you are able to become a member, and also the value of using the Proudly South African logo from a marketing perspective. Right. All right. So just to give you a very quick background, Proudly South African is the country's national buy local campaign. So we are an advocacy campaign, and what we're advocating for is for the public sector, the private sector, and the general consumer to make a local purchasing decision. So just to give you an overview, Proudly South African is not just, a South African advocacy campaign. You can find this campaign in Buy America, Buy Australia, and also in parts of the SADC country. They are localizing and asking you to buy local. So it is very important, because if we look at localization, Proudly South African really does four very integral things. We ask that the public sector, that is government, the entire portfolio of government, to buy local and to make a local purchasing decisions when it comes to their tenders, and to make sure that via the public purse, that they are ensuring, that they create jobs, or much needed jobs, in the local economy. Our second mandate is really there to ensure that the private sector, that is your companies, whether it be your JSE listed companies or your SMEs, that they too, they manufacture locally and they buy locally. So manufacture locally, we want to ensure that the entire supply chain, they make sure that a very large percent or almost all of the percent is used to manufacture locally. And then we have consumer education. We have a robust marketing department who ensures that they continuously educate consumers on looking at a product, finding the logo, and that logo, confirms that this product is local content. And then, of course, we have a database of products, and that database of products is really there to ensure that those products end up on shelves, end up in retail, wholesale, B2B, so that, those businesses can grow, those product manufacturing can diversify, and jobs can be created. So just to give you a little nutshell, in a nutshell, what is the reason that we buy local, or we are canvassing for you to buy local? So in order for a campaign to exist as large as this, we want to make sure that people are buying local, but there must be a reason behind that. And to simplify the reason, one of the main reasons is to retain and create jobs in the local economy. South Africa has, as you know, has one of the highest unemployment rates in the country, and we want to make sure that we create jobs to mitigate this problem, and of course retain jobs as opposed to retrenching. Of course, because we come from where we do, historically and politically, we want to make sure that we develop skills in the country and we develop this economy. Because when this economy grows, we all grow. So, of course, we also want to do empowerment, especially of women in business, Black women in business, previously disadvantaged people. And of course, one of the main reasons as well is that we want to increase South Africa's GDP, and we want to make sure that we are exporting more than we are importing so that we can balance off the trade. That is the only way for South Africa to grow, for South Africa to diversify, and for jobs to be retained and created. So, what does it mean to be a proudly South African member? Of course, to be a member, like any memberships, you have to have benefits associated to the membership. Otherwise, irrespective of how beautiful the membership may seem, people will not take up the membership if there are not associated benefits to the scheme. So Proudly South African has a membership vetting process, and through the membership vetting process, it allows us to get to know you in greater detail. And of course, we market across 26 different sectors. So it is so important for us to understand your business and to understand how to best take you to market. So the vetting process, I'm just going to move this a bit. Okay, so the vetting process is, it really is a business process. As a buy local campaign, we want to ensure that you own local content. We cannot be called Proudly South African and not know whether you as a business are really manufacturing or providing a service locally. So local content is very important. Ideally, we would like for you to have 100% local content, but we are cognizant of the fact that not all sectors can find raw material here in order to manufacture a product. So in that case, we allow for 50% or more of your product to be manufactured within the borders of South Africa. Quality is also very important. The logo that you see on the Kit Kat bar, the Maggie 2-minute noodles, the Rick coffee, and down here is really a registered trademark. That Proudly South African logo is registered Proudly South African, and it is trademarked, and we say that only a company that has gone through the relevant testing process for their products, or a company who has ISO certificates for their products is allowed to use the logo, because quality is a non-negotiable. We as Proudly South African, we need to know that wherever you place the logo, whether it be on a food product, on an animal care product, on a skincare product, anything that is used or consumed has to have the quality checks approved before the Proudly South African logo is used. Fair labor practices, this is so important, and I cannot stress the importance of ensuring that your labor practices abides by fair practices. Oftentimes we say that is a sweatshop, because when you are manufacturing a product or when you are providing a service, your employees must have HR, you must have HR policies in place for your employees. You must ensure that they are earning a fair wage or salary. You must ensure that you are abiding by the fair labor practices of South Africa. You cannot manufacture product where you are mistreating your labor. You cannot have products being manufactured in factories with undocumented foreigners. So fair labor practices is so important. Your HR policies and procedures must be in place in order for you to have a stellar product and for us to onboard you as a member. Environmental product as a standard, it is a very nice to have, and I'll tell you why. If you are someone that is making furniture and you use wood, the country anywhere in the world does not have enough wood that goes around, that whatever you take out of the earth, you must be able to put back. If you don't put back, there's no surplus supply of. So environmental standards is so important, because whatever you are manufacturing, we want to know that you are doing right by the environment and that we are constantly creating a circular environment. So local content, quality, fair labor practices, and environmental standards is so important. And this is our vetting criteria. Of course, we also ask you for supporting documents. We ask you for, your company profile, your CIPC document, your VAT reg document, just to be able to ensure that, we added on to the important criteria in order to file accordingly. Then, of course, the use of the logo. If you look at Darling Sweets, on the screen, the use of the logo is absolutely proper. It is well placed. It is the right logo, and it is visible to consumers. So it is so important in the process of becoming local, and in the process of manufacturing, that once you become a Proudly South African member, you use the logo well. You use the logo where it is highly visible, and you use the logo whereby when we are doing consumer education, people are able to see the logo and make a local purchasing decision. Now, how do you gain access to the logo? Use of the Proudly South African logo is one of the main benefits and the first benefits you will ever receive as a member company. So your membership consultant will will email you the Proudly South African logo, the different types of, it's the same logo with different colors, and they'll give you a CI manual where your designer will be able to look at the CI manual and say, this is how we best are able to use the logo and apply it to different, products. So, of course, with the member benefits with the membership comes multiple other member benefits. One of the other benefits, and this goes beyond being a marketing benefit, it actually goes into being a corporate financial benefit, because with the membership, you have access to market platforms. So you have first-hand and access to tender opportunities, and because we are, aligned to the CSD, that's the country's central supplier database. You, as a member company, stand out to public procurement officials for and of state entities. So, state entities are able to see through the use of the logo on the CSD platform that you have been vetted for Proudly South African membership and that you do hold local content. And that is the benefit, because you stand out to these officials and they are able to understand that you have been well vetted in accordance to BEE standards, in accordance to tender standards. And then, of course, we have the consumer-focused benefits. So, Proudly South African has just launched its own e-commerce store. And the e-commerce store is really there for our member companies to list on the store and to create various benefits for yourself in terms of this being another revenue stream. So you are able to contact us in membership. We will align you with our e-commerce division, and they will put your products in the specific category or sector, and that is another form of access to market whereby you will be able to sell your product on that site. And of course, we as Proudly South African, yes, we have our own e-commerce site, but we have also, created access to market via other e-commerce sites. So as a member company, we will introduce you to Zulzi, Macro Marketplace, Made by Artisan, Bidsmeds, one day only. So all of those e-commerce sites in order for you to list your product and for you to equally sell out. And then, of course, we have quite a large marketing department made up of event, PR, and brand. So brand can help you with the use of the logo. If you are someone as a member that wants to ensure the logo is well placed, the right logo is placed, you are welcome to contact us and our brand will be able to assist. We have an events department that will ensure that you are taken to exhibitions, markets, and other events in accordance to your sector, and a PR department that will make sure that you are added to our newsletter and all of the PR sort of opportunities that come through in the year. Then we have something called MAP, Market Access Platform. Yeah, this is a site where buyers meet our member companies who are suppliers. This is very important because if buyers come onto MAP and meet our suppliers, they are directly creating, financial benefits, which in turn create jobs. And as I said, ultimately, that is the aim of Proudly South African. And of course, we have we take you to multiple, exhibitions throughout the year, like the local wine show, the mining in Daba, the manufacturing in Daba, Decorex, and multiple others. But of course, we also have one of our flagship events, one of the biggest and largest events in the calendar every year, which is the Buy Local Summit and Expo. And it is at this expo that we actively market our member companies, right from SMMEs right up to diamond members, because we want to ensure that the public sector, the private sector, and the general consumer is aware of who they are and can make that local purchasing decision with them. And then this is basically the fee structure, which we won't delve into much today. People are saying a lot of amazing things about us. And yes, we are an advocacy campaign, but marketing carries a lot of that campaign to the marketplace. So, you would see from here, Dumi from Chepa, Zaleka Lisa from South African breweries, the A Good Year, Kimberly Clark, all of these large corporate companies saying absolutely amazing things about about localizing their brands, about the importance of localization, and of course about how Proudly South African is carrying both their brand and our brand together within partnership. And of course, if you look at everything from our Buy Local Summit, DSTV Delicious, all of the expos that we take our members to. And then I'm going to leave this here just because I do know one of our events managers will play the advert shortly, and then you are able to ask me any questions with regards to membership, the use of the Proudly SA logo, and the partnerships that we can create with yourself and others. So yes, I'll leave it with Addy, and I'm able to take whatever questions you have. Thank you so much.
That was so awesome to learn so much about what you do, and so many different avenues in which you can help small businesses and brands to get onto the market and to become visible. I think visibility is so important, and the fact that you are Proudly South African is supporting these brands in these different many ways to come into their own space. I think this is a very exciting membership. I would love to inquire if there is an online application process that we can have available for our viewers and our guests. And in the meantime, while we hopefully make that available so that this becomes a very accessible, exciting membership onboarding, I'm going to call on Kaylin Mendez. Kaylin, welcome. You are joining us from very, very far, but I know South Africa is close to your heart. I see your shirt, and yeah, it's a Bok Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us, Kaylin.
Nice
You
to.
are talking to us on the core creative idea, bridging
Yeah.
cultures and languages in brand storytelling. Please, will you introduce yourself to our guests? And thank you so much for coming on board this morning.
Thank you, Eddie. Thanks for such a warm welcome. And Alicia, thanks for that snapshot. I think you've given me quite a bit of perspective on, I think, the opportunities that Proudly South Africa offer. And so thanks for that. Hello, everybody. My name is Kaylin Mendez. And I will be sharing a very brief presentation with you all, just outlining the importance of a core creative idea in your brand storytelling. Now, just bear with me as I get the presentation up. Oh, just give me 1 second. Are we all good? Can I get a thumbs up if the presentation is loaded successfully? Cool. So, like I said, I'm Kaylin. Yeah, that's good. Like I said, I'm Kaylin Mendez, and I am part owner at a company called Ruffle Advertising. This is my business partner who isn't here today, but this is a joint collaboration on what we think the opportunities are for young brands and entrepreneurs in the business, in the market to access in storytelling and the power that leads into sharing what your brand actually can do for its consumers. So before I start my presentation, this is just a quick snapshot of who we are. Okay, so in case any of you missed that, the titles. So at Ruffle, we're an on-demand creative collective, and we build these things called creative platforms, which are insight-led. We build these platforms because we know that in this world where media is so saturated and brands are spread so thinly across so many different channels, it is important for a brand to be scalable, nimble, and efficient at the same time. We believe that these core creative ideas help in being able to articulate the brand story and cross over many languages and cultural barriers. So we do this because we're a small business ourselves. We come from, both my business partner and I come from large agency and corporate backgrounds, but we saw an opportunity in the market for us to share our years of skill with smaller brands, smaller businesses that are in the entrepreneurial space and that could benefit from a personal relationship, a one-on-one with experts in the industry and not cut through and not dealing with the clutter that can often be in major corporates. So we believe that all brands should have the chance to benefit from effective creativity, and creativity stems across all the disciplines within a brand's life cycle. So these are some of our partners. Some of these logos would be recognizable, and that's just a snapshot. But the reason why I'm here today is to speak into what this core creative idea can do in bridging cultures, especially in South Africa, where we've got a vast array of languages, and within those languages, different dialects and colloquialisms that we need to bridge. And what this can do in positioning a brand and its storytelling. So bear with me. I love to start off with a proverb. Proverbs is one of my favorite books. But what I want to speak into is the tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, but the mouth of the fools gushes folly. And I think it's so important for us to take a step back on this. This message is pertinent for us because right now in the comms world, there's tons of messaging out there, tons of people saying millions of things, but meaning absolutely nothing, right? And I think it's important for us to take stock on what we say and why we are saying it, and the impact that our words have across the board. So communication for us is not a casual thing. This is a responsibility that we all hold because at the heart of it, it can build or break communities, relationships, or can unite or divide populations, families, and we take this exceptionally serious. So in South Africa, where we've got over 11 languages and all these diverse cultures, choosing your words is extremely important, and making the wise choice for your brand can often be the decision between your brand being considered from the consumer and having longevity in the and the consumer's consideration, or your brand being dismissed completely. So I would like to start by just contextualizing what do I mean by messaging. And language in its language and how it supports messaging. So for us, messaging isn't just words. In communication, there are two parts in messaging, and from a technical perspective, you've got an encoding part and a decoding part. One is the message carrier, and the one is the message receiver. But there are many cues that build in. There are many cues that help tell the land the message, and those cues can be the spoken word, for instance, our 11 languages, and the sub languages, the colloquialism, slangs, dialects. We've also got visual cues that help tell the story and help land a message, help land a tone of a message. We've got symbols like colors and logos. For instance, I'm sure all of you can see the logo, the Lego artwork on the top right. And it's immediately distinctive because of the shape of the logo. Or you got the McDonald's slops at the bottom. It did not even need the McDonald's logo, but those visual cues helped translate the message. So for us, brand messaging is seen beyond just words. It's important for us to understand that messaging goes beyond our A-level languages and incorporates subtext. Because messaging is intentional. Like I mentioned before, the encoding component of it really is a reflection on how we as brands choose to use our words and images and styles. And the decoding component is looking at how the consumer is going to receive this and interpret it. So um, there are many supporting influences such as culture, experience, and belief that determine how the messaging is then translated. So it's super important for a brand to understand that whilst I may be pushing something to a consumer, what is their context that needs to be considered in order for them to receive the messaging the way I need them to, not just the written word. And we often find that's where the actual problem lies for brands, is that there's a gap between the encoding and the decoding. And this is where the creative platform comes in. It is this opportunity for a brand to have like a single-minded thought that continuously speaks into the brand's promise, but also speaks into the customer's understanding, contextualize the customer's understanding. So in simplistic terms, what is a creative platform? It's a single organizing thought that is scalable. We say channel neutral because in this media landscape, we often have to have communication that goes across all social channels on your B2B channels, your CRM, your mailers, your WhatsApp, etc. And this needs to be consistent and effective in order for this to help a brand communicate more efficiently and consistently across all of, as I've said, this fractured media landscape. So now that you've got a bit of an understanding of what a creative platform is, the question is, what can it do for you as a small business owner? Yeah. From our experience, this little entity becomes the lasting brand. It can build a lasting brand affinity with a deeper connection between yourself as the brand and the consumer, simply because it's demonstrating what your brand understands is going on in a customer's life. Yeah. And often it is the breaking point between a consumer choosing you versus the consumer choosing the competitor. So now, over 20 years of working in this industry, it's often the hardest thing to get to in collaborating with the business owner, but the most important in landing what is it that differentiates your brand. So I've given you a whole lot of theory there in hopefully a summarized version. So I'm going to give you a quick taste on how you can experience this and how we deliver it for your brand. So we always start off, like I said, explaining a creative idea, which is a single organizing creative thought for the brand. But we start off with an insight. Now, this is where you start to understand what is happening in your customer's world, your consumer's world, right? And the insight it should be simple. It should be no more than 2 lines, to be quite honest. And this insight is, we all dream and we've all wondered what it would be like to win the lotto. So, what if? What if today was the day? What if those once in a lifetime things could become once in a week things? What if you took up a new hobby, just in jail? What if you solved load shedding for the whole street? What if you could chill with this outie? Or a lebo mochel in some place cool? What if you skipped this traffic or told your boss what you really think? What if Paris instead of Paris? What if you leveled up and up and up? And what if all this me could also just be we? What if every time you played, you leveled up Mzansi too? What if making more ways to win meant more ways to win for the nation. What if she got a chance? What if they got a dance? What if we grew that, preserved these, invested in them, and built more of those? What if you played today? National Lottery, what if? And essentially, the what if statement is the core creative idea, creative platform that we are speaking into, from which all communication stems from, no matter what differentiation, so no matter what nuances there are in your target segment or what language barriers there are. What if brings an emotional connection and a functional benefit from your customers' world to life. Then we take it across the different platforms and show you how this incorporates visual language, which is one of the language cues itself. We took the ellipses, as you saw, dot, 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 those three little dots in the right-hand corner. And we started using it as a graphic device to incorporate imagery, housing a moment. Looking at this lady just staring into the abyss. You can see by the tone in her expression that she is joyous in this moment. And though that is what language encompasses, it's not just the words, it is the visual cues, it's the tone, it's the lighting, it is the color palette you use. So I'll leave you with this question. What's your brand's language? And do you know it? And that's it for me.
Thank you, Kaylin. That was so beautiful to watch. That was so inspiring to watch. It is by no irony that the next speaker happens to be opening up on just that, Mzansi's cultural language. Hi, guys. I'm back. It's 80. I'm from Pasture and Plate, a small working holding farm in Johannesburg. And my language, Kaylin, sounds a lot like and beak, 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 and so we have a lot of animals on our farm, and they are the mouthpiece and the voice and the vehicle of my business and my brand. So perhaps with you guys, Kaylin, you are an advocacy and a voice for businesses and brands. They are mine. So I have real life souls and and things to look after and to hope and pray for the best. For example, one of my favorite marketing techniques in our farm was when the donkeys opened the gate by themselves and ran down the main road on a public street, and the horses and the donkeys are all making a noise and causing absolute chaos. Sometimes we need to think out the box, so that's one for you. Understanding Mzansi's cultural landscape. The fact that we are here calling it Mzansi and not South Africa already shows a turning point in how we as South Africans have made personal places that we feel deeply connected to. When we are connected to something, when we personalize it, it becomes ours. And so, what makes us different to our neighbors around the world? Things to note are that we are the hustle and bustle culture of Africa, familiarly known as terms like the City of Gold, Mother City, the Zululand, the Garden Province. We've already familiarly termed our country and its different spaces. Our international market, has brought a vibrant blend of languages and cultures to our country. There's obviously we have our history and our culture of the different nationalities that started South Africa, or so we think, and how things have progressed so far. Our form of expression in South Africa is through art and music. It's very street, with having kwaito and amapiano influences, and dance. Dance is the one thing that we can all do well, happy or angry, right? There's those trending videos of the engine garage doing those TikTok reels, and I think when we are mad as South African people, we go into the street and we take our vuvuzelas and we stomp, and we use ourselves, our bodies, our emotions to communicate us as a people. We have a very ambitious, fast-paced, and unapologetic energy in South Africa. We're loud, creative, and always evolving. And so now that we have identified the qualities and characteristics of Mzansi, I think the following is important to note. Our pastors, the people, have taught us that there's power in our voice. and we use that as our currency. Nelson Mandela used that as his currency. Our women, when they fought in Coronation, will use that as their currency. And when thinking about our brands, we need to be very clear and concise in who we are and what our message is. For example, like, hi, we're South Africa. Our brand and our message is, our brand is sport or rugby. Our message is strength, is resilience, it's diversity. So when looking at our own businesses and brands, I think these are things that we need to take a look at very intentionally. With my own business and brand, as an example, I stopped selling fizzy drinks at our farm. Cool drinks, because my brand is family and wellness. Our message is a wholesome experience with food and all of our interactions with our animals. We are encouraging people to get back to basics, to ground, to put their hands and feet in the soil, to have a less sugarized adrenaline and a more intentional, holistic adrenaline, if I could say that. We had to be clear on our messaging. So I cut the fizzy drinks and I started to, our chef made homemade iced teas as our supplement beverage. Now, that was a very good move from my part in being clear as to who I am and who we are as a brand. But was it a good decision for my customers? At first, they were a little confused. They had questions. They weren't so sure. But this is something that we had to be clear on and continue to step forward, so that when we go out, moving from a ground-based business on in a farm to through a food truck and going out into the rest of the community, they need to hear the same thing, they need to see the same thing, they need to feel the same thing. And so it's something that we had to, intentional decisions had to be made accordingly in order to stick with our brand. And maybe the cost changed for them as well. And so when we look at the changes that we're making with our businesses, it is important to note that affordability, quality, and convenience are all things and important things to take note of. As we look externally into our current climate, has our current climate in South Africa shaped our consumer behavior? And absolutely, yes, it has. There was a time when there was a very favorite car brand in South Africa that was very well known and a favorite amongst the young and up and coming adulthood, Gen Z, next gen kind of kids, and they wanted to drive this fast car. But over time, we've seen that our climate being crime, unfortunately, we have hotspots now, and we also have cars that are easily targeted. So we've seen, and myself included, a decline in that purchasing demand for that brand, and we're now seeing a switch. We're going for more safer family vehicles now, not so much the fast cars, and that is just because, again, of our climate. We look at there was a very famous food store, Checkers. Checkers was very well known for, or rather associated with, Checkers Hyper. And we frequented the Spars and the Woolies and the Pick and Pays more often. But now, when we turn on the TV internationally, we're watching the Checkers guy in his beautiful teal outfit flying on a plane and delivering something in 60 seconds to us who's watching the box and things like that. So our homes now have these teal motorbikes running around them. And that shows that rebranding is possible. It shows that wherever you've been placed in a market, it is possible to look into who you are, your voice, and where you want to go, and rebrand and change it. And it then has a completely impactful and completely different place in the market. And so I think that's a really great example to look at now. But as Alicia mentioned earlier, that is an indication that our GDP is growing. We have more space in our market now for more brands, and that's because our culture in South Africa, we are family orientated, we are welcoming, we are happy, we are fun, we enjoy our sport, our socialization, our bride days and things like that. And when looking back into the business, you take it personally, you take it back to your brand, and you say to yourself, how do we be fun? How do we be relevant? How do we make people feel good? Because the spirit of Mzansi is making people feel good. So simply put, be clear in who you are, be strong about who you are, arrive alive, unapologetically, like we did in South Africa for all the years, and allow your voice to be loud and clear so that you can be the best. You can do the best for your product and step foot in the right way. So that's just a little bit about my experience with my branding journey with my farm. And I truly hope that the space has aligned all of you in getting some fresh perspective and ideas. Proudly South Africa is 100% there with you guys in helping you get onto the map. So take a look at their website, check the lists and the intentions needed behind everything, and get working on your brand, because it's entirely possible to change it at any time and to put some fresh life and creative flow in. So thank you very much, guys, for joining us all today. This webinar will be available on the YouTube channel and all the other Proudly South Africa socials. Thank you very much to our speakers, to Alicia and to Kaylin, very much for being here, and we look forward to engaging in your personal brands and businesses. We'll be sharing your links for the rest of our guests today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There's a voice that is calling, loudly calling, day by day, the voice of the future.
When I started my business, all I wanted was to create jobs and a legacy for the next generation, because I see opportunity when others see impossibility.
It all started with a thought and then a seed in the garden, which grew into my very own farm that feeds the whole nation daily.
Cotton, silk, and a little bit of treasure, I create masterpieces that give South Africans an identity, comfort, and confidence, because when you look good, you feel good.
From the factory workers to the warehouse and then over the seas, I want to show the world what proudly South African looks like. It all started with just some ink on paper and inspiration to bring people together. With my furniture, I now help create spaces that are beautiful, comfortable, and authentic to human light and connection.
I've always been driven by curiosity. It fueled my dreams to create automobiles that accelerate our nation into greater possibilities and the beauty of the unknown.
I was born into a rainbow nation. My life has been full of colors and mixed flavors. And when I started my bakery, I wanted to share that joy with the world and with South Africans in particular.
All I ever dreamt of was to be a bird and fly high. And now I have the wings to help others fulfill their dreams of flying high too.
But it can only be a dream until you make it a reality. All they need is your faith, your trust, your loyalty, your appreciation.
And most importantly,
Your support.
because supporting local businesses
Helps create jobs
And secures our future.
South Africa, their future is in your hands. So what are you going to do about it? Be proudly South African. Buy local to create jobs.